Afternoon, fellas. Hope we're all well. 5 subs away from 200 subs. So, can we all get me to 500? 500, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? 200 by the end of the day. That'd be lovely. Be like an early Christmas present for me. Anyway, quickly, does anyone notice how the Filip Hrgović Mark Demori fight has almost got as much coverage as any of the headlines? I mean, for all the wrong reasons, but that seems to have been, in terms of newsworthy stories, a successful inclusion to the card. And you'll probably watch that, won't you? Even if it's Sunday and you watch it sort of later on, rerun or whatever, you'll seek that out, even if it's for a bit of morbid curiosity, won't you? We'll all have a look at that for a laugh, won't we? But everyone's talking about it, so I don't know. World's a strange place, isn't it? Now, Frank Warren has been up to his usual shenanigans again, this time on Ariel Helwani's show. Now, I'm sure many of you watch a bit of UFC out there as well. Ariel Helwani is predominantly a UFC journalist. He's got his own show, and he's crossed over a little bit into boxing recently. He's had the odd boxing guest on there. Eddie Hearn's been on there as well, and a few others. But Frank was on there talking about seemingly his recent successes in making these Saudi fights. So he's asked a series of questions. One of them was, Ariel said to him, so he said, Frank, how long did the Saudi card take to put together? Because for us, it seemed like a couple of days. A couple of days, he done it in. To which Frank replies, the date was fixed because we were looking to Tyson against Usyk. But as you know, Tyson had a tough fight against Ngannou, as Frank says. So we had to put together another card. Everybody concerned had to work very hard. My son George, Spencer Brown, us, obviously the Kingdom team, led by His Excellency Turkey. And we came up with this card, which is something extra special, which it is, very special. He goes on to say, I think if we'd had more time and it happened earlier, we'd have got the Joshua and Wilder fight on. That's unfortunate, because if I'd had more time, Frank would have got the Wilder Joshua fight on, which would have been an amazing feat, considering neither of those two fighters are his. Nonetheless, that would have been a fantastic success for Frank, wouldn't it? So unlucky there, Frank. I mean, I'm gutted you never made that, Frank. Unfortunate, because that would have been a great effort by you. He then goes on to say, now, do you remember at the presser, Eddie actually gave a shout out to George Warren. Now, it seems like Eddie and George Warren have quite a good relationship. It seems like they talk. They were certainly deep in talks, weren't they, before it seemed for the Usyk Joshua fight. So they seem to have a good relationship. And Eddie gave George a shout out. But nothing here in return from Frank. No mention of Matchroom at all. Then he goes on to say, this is talking about why sort of the original Usyk Fury got scrapped. And I covered a little bit before, because he said about this before, but he goes on to say that for two guys at this stage of their careers, 6 weeks wasn't enough, and you can understand that. So 6 weeks wasn't enough of a break to prepare for Usyk Fury. But they still booked the 23rd. So it was at one point, it was enough. Now, not enough. Who knows? I mean, when you think this card is predominantly propped up by non-Queensberry fighters, but Frank is head of it, and Frank talks about it like it's his own it's his own baby sort of thing. You could think really he's almost got in this position by a fluke that he had that date booked, and almost because of that he had this date penciled in that fell through because of the long training camps. He's fell back on this. Luckily enough, he's got access to everyone else's fighters, because the Saudis have got enough money to fund a lot of it. So, yeah, lucky old Frank. And then he goes on to say, this was another one. What do you think of this? So this is Frank Warren, quote Frank Warren again. Fury trained hard for the fight. It was truly a hard camp. Now, if that's the case, which I don't believe it was, all the talk of Fury being in decline and maybe being shot are probably justified then. If he truly did have a hard camp and train hard for this fight, you could see the aesthetics of him in the gym. You could see the extra back fat. You could see the extra lard, if you like, he was carrying. And you could see the technical sort of issues he was having. The wide punches, the slow on his feet, the unsteady on his feet, the distance, the timing was off. He had very little sparring, didn't he, if any? I mean, that was evident. So to try and tell us that he trained very hard and that was a hard camp, I'm not buying it. So, more good stuff by Frank. Then he goes on to say that back-to-back camps are not good for a fighter, but then says as the fight went into 6 or 7 rounds, that date got scrapped. Now, so I can only read that as, had the fight only gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds, the fight would have still gone ahead, which means the whole too many back-to-back camps and only 6 weeks of preparation didn't matter. So again, he contradicts himself, does Frank. So yeah, and then he also goes on to say about when he calls Fury Ngannou the game changer, and what he means by that, and he's explained this himself, is that that's opened the door for other big heavyweight fights to go to Saudi. But didn't Joshua Ruiz 2 take place in Saudi in 2019? And I don't think Riyadh season had started then, but in terms of the period of the months of the year that was in, that would be in now what is considered Riyadh season. So same time of year, just 2, 3, 4 years earlier. So when he takes all the credit for that being a game changer as setting up the fights and getting the foot in the door for Saudi, Eddie Hearn had done that with Matchroom already. He'd done it with Ruiz Joshua too. So yeah, just more gold from Frank. Usual stuff from Frank, but it gives us something to talk about, doesn't it? Anyway, don't know what you guys think. I'm sure you'll let me know. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do a sort of a good in-depth build-up to Cameron Taylor too. Looking forward to that. Katie Taylor, she's done great things for this sport, isn't she? She's such a great role model. And that night at Madison Square Garden, the Serrano fight, that was one of the most memorable spectacles and fights I've witnessed in 35 years, male or female. So I'm looking forward to this. Like I said before, I do kind of expect another Cameron win for the reasons I said before, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. But anyway, I shall see you all soon. 5 more subs. Come on, for me, 5 more subs, lads. Nice one. Cheers.